Hi guys, it's me again, Kaelyn. Welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to be doing my March wrap-up with all the books that I read in March. And I read 14 books in March. That is more than I have ever read in any month. Just to gauge, for you guys to gauge how much I read, I set my Goodreads reading goal to 20 books, and I read 14 out of 20 just in the month of March alone. So I'm pretty proud of that number, to be honest. 7 of them were physical books that I own, and 7 of them were not. They were either audiobooks or books I borrowed from my online library, or a book, one of them I had to read for class. So let's get into it. I'm going to go in the order that I read the books this month. So yeah. So to start off with, I read Every Heart a Doorway by Seanan McGuire. I rated it 5 stars. Yeah, I love this book, even though it was so small. And I feel like most people know what this is about, but in case you don't, it's about kids who go through doors to magical places that are like perfect for them, but then they end up leaving or getting kicked out or what have you. So yeah, it's dark fantasy. It's pretty good. I've had that book since Christmas, and I just got around to reading it in March, and I'm kind of sad that I didn't read it in December when I got it, but it's fine. And then after that, I read Down Among the Sticks and Bones by Seanan McGuire. This is the second book in the series. It follows Jack and Jill from Every Heart a Doorway, and I gave this 5 stars as well. This is also a dark fantasy book, also very short. I appreciated it though. It made my numbers go up. A lot of these books are just small books. I have one on here that's like 34 pages, but it's still a book, so it still counts. The next book that I read it was an audiobook, and I will place it here. This book is called Chasing Vermeer by Balliett, and I rated it 3.75 stars, but now that I'm thinking about it, I don't think that was a good rating. Maybe like a 3.5, even a 3. I think it might go down to a 3. I don't know why I gave it a 3.75. This is a middle grade book that follows 2 kids, Calder and Petra, and there's this lost artwork, stolen artwork, not lost, stolen artwork, and these 2 kids are gonna find it, apparently. That's all I'll tell you. It was pretty good. It was okay. I feel like if I was younger, I would have liked it more, rather than a college student reading a 5th grade level book, but it's fine. The next book on this list is also a book I got from my library app. This one I actually physically read with my eyes, did not listen to an audiobook. Beneath the Sugar Sky by Seanan McGuire. This is the 3rd book in the series, in the Wayward Children series that I listed before. It was pretty good. It wasn't my favorite. I think Down Among the Sticks and Bones is definitely my favorite of the whole series, which I'm assuming, I think you can see what a later on book is probably going to be, but it's fine. Yeah, I rated that one 5 stars as well, even though it wasn't my favorite in this series. I still thought it was really good, really funny. Yeah, and I do not own that book. The next book that I read was a graphic novel. It is The Lightning Thief graphic novel, and I have read the original Lightning Thief, and I thought it was really good. I think I gave it 4.5 stars. Yeah, let's just look at this cover. This is a 12-year-old boy? That's what you're gonna tell me? 12-year-old boy? No, no. He looks like a grown man. That's weird. I rated this 2.5 stars. And literally, the only reason it got 2.5 stars rather than 2 stars is because of the storyline, which the person who turns into a graphic novel didn't even write the story, so I feel like I don't know if it deserves that extra 0.5, but yeah, the art style, not my favorite. A lot of the plot was missing as well. Like, I understand it was a short story, so they kind of had to cram it all into, like, I think it was like 150 pages. But listen, I mean, not that much spoiler, because if you haven't read Percy Jackson yet, like, sorry. But the entire end, it did not explain, like, anything. It didn't explain, like, the friend who was a traitor. It didn't explain why Percy's mom is, like, with that douchebag. Like, yeah, it didn't explain anything. It also skipped the scene with the Medusa in the, like, flower shop thing, and I was super excited for that scene. So when it got cut out, I was a little salty. But it's fine. Moving on. The next book that I read is the sequel to Chasing Vermeer, which is The Wright 3 by Balliett. And I bought this at a Goodwill because, first of all, like, that's so pretty. And it was in, like, perfect condition. Like, the pages are perfect. Yes, I tabbed this one up. Just a little tabbing. Not a lot. But yeah, it was in, like, perfect condition. And that's the reason I read Chasing Vermeer. Otherwise, I wouldn't have read it. I liked this one more than Chasing Vermeer, which is why I think this one should be 3.5 stars. And Chasing Vermeer should probably be 3 stars, but whatever. I just like the mystery more in this one. This one follows Calder. Here he is. And Petra. And then Tommy as well. He is Calder's best friend, but he moved away in the first book, so we didn't really get to see a lot of him. And in this one, they are trying to save the Robbie house, which is an actual house. Neat fact. In Chicago, where they live. So yeah, also, let me just show you without the cover on. Here's a picture of the actual Robbie house with the guy who created it. I can't think of his name off the top of my head. Oh well, it's fine. Oh, Wright. I don't know what his first name is, but his last name's Wright. That's why it's called The Wright 3. I'm stupid. Yeah, and then here is a window from the actual Robbie house, which I thought that was a pretty cool feature. Okay, so the next book that I read was another graphic novel, which is The Prince and the Dressmaker by Jen Wang. Wang. I didn't mean to say it so funny. This is a romance graphic novel, and it was so good. It was so good. Oh my gosh. Like, even if you don't like graphic novels, I would still recommend this book because it was such a short read. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. Oh my gosh. I am in love with both of these characters. So, in case you haven't heard of this story, it's about this prince who has his personal assistant track the girl who made this dress, the dressmaker. And he wants to hire her to make dresses for him because he likes to wear dresses. He, like, just likes to wear dresses. That's all. And it's a romance novel. It's super cute. The ending was so good. The end made me cry so much. I was reading it on my phone, and my mom came home because I read it over spring break. My mom came home when I got to the end, and I was, like, bawling, and she's like, "Are you okay?" And I was like, so yeah, that was pretty funny, but I would definitely recommend that. Like, it was so good. So the next book that I read was another graphic novel. It's called The Witch Boy by Molly Ostertag, and I gave this one 5 out of 5 stars too because it was so good. I read both of these within like 24 hours of each other, which I'm kind of disappointed, but back-to-back 5 stars, man. What can you say? This was Molly Ostertag's first book too. I found out, like, it was her debut novel, and it was so good. It was so good. Oh my gosh. It follows this boy named Aster, and all of the women in his family are witches, and all of the boys in his family are shapeshifters. And to start the shapeshifter journey, I guess you could say, you have to like get this vision of an animal, and Aster hasn't gotten that yet, but all of the boys in his family have, and he's like super interested in like the witchy side of stuff, which same, I love the witchy, anything witchy I'm down to jive with. But yeah, and it's just about like gender roles and like stereotypes and like flipping gender roles on their head, because boys can do girl stuff and girls can do boy stuff. The next book that I read was Binti by Nnedi Okorafor. I had to read this for my class, and I've heard my teacher say her name like a million times, so you'd think I would know how to say it, but I still don't. This was a super short book. This was 96 pages. I read it like all in, well, 2 sittings, but I could have read it in 1 sitting. I had to pause to write something for class because I read more than we were supposed to. Overachiever. Yeah, but this book follows Binti, that's her name, as she goes to Uni, which is like a university in across the galaxy. It's a sci-fi / fantasy book, by the way. Yeah, and it's just about her journey getting to college and all the stuff that takes to get there. It's quite the journey, packed into 96 pages. Oh, and I rated this 3.5 stars, by the way. It was pretty good. It was like, for a class book, it was good, but I wouldn't pick this up normally, which that's just mostly because I don't read sci-fi. I don't understand sci-fi. I feel like science fiction authors are very talented, and they can come, same with fantasy authors, they can come up with this great, like, elaborate thing in their brain, and it's just really hard for me as a reader to picture that world in my brain. But yeah, so credit to her. I forgot a book, actually. I read A Small Place by Jamiaca Kincaid. If I can find a picture, I'll put it here, but it was super short. I had to read it for class. Yeah, it was like 2.5 stars. I didn't think it was that good, to be honest. Like, it's told in second person? Is that what that's called? It's told in like, you go and do this, you go, yeah, like that. And it was very accusatory. The point of us reading it was to show how like tourism and going on vacation to places like Jamaica and the Dominican Republic and Costa Rica and stuff is like super harmful, because the people of those places are catering to white people, which I think in general that's bad. They shouldn't be catering to white people, because, you know, but at the same time, that's how they get their coin. That's how they get their bread, per se. So, I mean, I don't really know what you would do about that situation, but I don't think we need to be like, you're the reason that they don't have money. So the next book I read was Behind Her Eyes by Sarah Pinborough. I rated this 4.5 stars. It's a psychological thriller, and let me tell you, let me tell you. I also tabbed this one. I didn't like color code it, but this book was wild. This book was crazy, okay? It was definitely a page turner, I will say, and it was like 300 some pages, and I actually got through it pretty quickly for, like, I can be kind of a slow reader depending, but I feel like I flew through this book. A synopsis quickly. This book follows Louise and Adele, And Louise, it follows both of their perspectives, I mean. Louise goes out one night to a bar, which she doesn't normally do that. Like, she doesn't do that. She drinks in the privacy of her own home, like me. But she goes out, she gets a little drunk, and ends up making out with this random guy that she's never met, who turns out, I think we can all guess, is her new boss, who is also Adele's husband. Do you see how these two are going together? So Adele and Louise run into each other one day and they become friends. And Louise knows that Adele is the husband of the guy that she made out with. But Adele doesn't know who Louise is. Or so we think. I'm not going to give too much away, but it was so crazy. Oh my gosh, this book was so crazy. The end, I had heard that the end was pretty wild. And I was thinking, oh, this is pretty crazy. Until I got to the last like 10 pages, I was like, what the freaking heck did I just read? I thought about this book like for a week after I finished it. Like, I think that shows if you think about a book for like, oh, at least a week, like every single day for a week after you finish it, that probably means something, right? Like, yeah. This one, pretty good. I would recommend it if you like thrillers. So the next book that I read was Sadie by Courtney Summers. I listened to it on audiobook, which, to be honest, I don't know why you would even read a physical, like, I'm sure the physical book is fine, but this book I feel like was meant for an audiobook. So in case you don't know, it follows the perspective of Sadie and a podcast that's following Sadie 5 months after her disappearance. And they have like they have like a full cast that does the voices of everyone in the podcast, which I thought was so cool. I've never read or listened to a book like that before, so I loved that aspect of it. There are a lot of trigger warnings, so like trigger warning for sexual assault, pedophilia, rape, child abuse, drug use, alcohol use, death/suicide, like stuff like that. Like, there were a ton of trigger warnings. So I gave this 5 stars, by the way, in case I didn't say that. And I would definitely recommend this book if you can handle that sort of content, because I know it can be pretty heavy. Like, I usually cry in books, but this book didn't make me cry. Maybe because it was on audiobook. I don't really know. But yeah, it was pretty heavy, so here's that. So the next book that I read was In an Absent Dream by Seanan McGuire, which is the 4th book in the Wayward Children series, which, as I mentioned earlier. This book I also gave 5 out of 5 stars. I thought it was pretty good. It was definitely my least favorite, I will say. Yeah, I feel like, okay, so this book follows Nnedi, who is Eleanor West's assistant in Every Heart a Doorway. But to be honest, I don't know, I thought the world was really cool, and like how she can jump back and forth and like choose when she wants to go home and choose when she wants to go to the Goblin Market, which I thought that was pretty cool. But I feel like we didn't see Nnedi enough in Every Heart a Doorway to warrant her having her own book. I mean, granted, there were 2 books before this book that talked about people from Every Heart a Doorway, but I don't know, I thought it was out of place. I still thought it was good. It was good. Especially the last, like the epilogue part, made me cry, I will say. It was so cute. I'm gonna put a spoiler here. I'll put like a thing up in the corner if you don't want to hear the spoiler, but just like, let me read you this part that was so sweet when Eleanor comes to get Nnedi at her house, like later on, and she says, "My name is Eleanor West. I've been looking for you for quite some time, Miss Nnedi. I think we're going to be very good friends, you and I." I'm like, tearing up just thinking about, like, just rereading that. Why am I gonna cry? I just thought that was so sweet, and that, honestly, like, that quote alone made me keep it out of 5 stars. I'm a sucker for friendship and love. What can I say? I'm a Libra. So the next book that I read is called Welcome to Lovecraft by Joe Hill, which I'm pretty sure is Stephen King's son. So that's an interesting fact. This is a horror graphic novel. It is the first book in the series of Lock and Key, and it follows this family who the dad gets killed, so they move to Massachusetts to the Lovecraft mansion house. I don't know. It was pretty scary. Like, there were moments, because I read it on my phone, there were moments when I would slowly turn the page because I was actually genuinely scared that there was gonna be a scary picture or like gore. Not that I'm really scared of gore, but like, yeah, trigger warning for gore and blood and killings in this book. Like, gore doesn't bother me that much, but I don't know, there was just something about this book that, like, it actually scared me. Like, I don't know, it did a good job at what it was doing, so that's good. And the last book that I read in March is called, well, here's the back, Teaching My Mother How to Give Birth by Warsan Shire. Here's the cover picture. I talked about it in a vlog. I don't know if I uploaded that or not, but this is a poetry book. This is the one that was like 34 something pages. Super short. I read it in one sitting. I also annotated it for class, but I gave this one 4 stars. I thought it was pretty good, especially for a class book. There are trigger warnings for like rape and sexual assault and eating disorders and like self-harm-ish, I guess, depending. This book talks about, it covers a lot of topics. It talks about like all the trigger warnings I already mentioned. It also talks about like having to leave your country and being like a refugee slash migrant slash asylum seeker. Yeah, it was pretty good. I would recommend this book if you like poetry and can handle that sort of content. So that wraps up for my March books that I read. Don't be expecting any of my other wrap-ups to be quite this long, especially not until May and June come along, because I do have school. Yeah, so I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know down below if you guys have read any of these books, or if you have any book recommendations that you want me to check out. I would love book recommendations, or if you just want to chat. I love talking. Social butterfly, as I said, Libra. Yeah, thanks for checking out my video. Bye!